What was that?
That was a little ditty I wrote that I call it Bacula. Because it's got a little Bach in there, and Dracula, Bacula, I don't know. And I call Greg Bach, right? Bacula sometimes. But when I'm not playing on someone else's song, I like to write little things that a lot of the time it's not for anything. It's just for the fun of putting together.
I love it.
A track. So that's what that one is.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have the great Michael Thompson, our very first repeat guest on the show. And the reason that we had to do this again, MT, was because we couldn't fit all the hits onto one episode. And so we are continuing with more number ones, as I mentioned in the very first video that we did, and that interview will be listed in the description and above here, is that you, I believe in the 90s, you are the session musician that has been on the most top 10s of any session musician during that time frame. So,
and who would have ever thought I'd have the problem of like cutting songs out because we can't fit them all, you know?
Yeah.
I've said many times that it took me basically the 80s to break in.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I don't know if I told you that before, but I did a session in the early 80s, and this keyboard player who was doing a lot of stuff around town, this guy Brian Mann, we were standing outside the studio, and he said, you know, it could take like 6 or 7 years to break in. And I was like, 6 or 7 years? I'm ready now, you know? And he was wrong. It took 10,
right?
You know, but, and I probably told that story before, but, and every year, you know, I was doing more and more things, and I'd get a real record here and a real record there, and demos and stuff. But then it came together, and it's like all that really prep work for being able to play on a song. I mean, it's the same thing when you come in to play on a demo. And I treated all those songwriter demos like they were, you know, going to be a big hit record, right? And that's what prepares you for being able to play on a tune, for, at least in my case, you know. Yeah. Even though I felt like I was ready, like my friend John Robinson came out here, and the first person he worked with was Quincy. And it was like, you know, and that was his trajectory, you know, that was his thing. But mine was something else, you know, and it took that. But you know, then it's like in the 90s where it just kind of, it all came together, and I hooked up with the right producer or a couple of producers, you know, that were, you know, between David Foster and Babyface, they were just ruling the charts.
Yeah. Well, I want to move us into the first song we're going to talk about and have you play an excerpt of today, which is another hit song that was written by the great Richard Marx, an amazing songwriter and artist all his own. But the song This I Promise You, a song he wrote for NSYNC.
Yeah.
And I'm curious how that session came to be and what you remember about it, the gear you might have used, and some of those details.
Richard, as he became a star, I never worked with him back then. He had, you know, Luke and Landau and stuff, but somewhere in the mid 90s, like, I know he called me out of the blue to play on something because I was David's guy, and he just worships David Foster, right? Or he did, you know.
Yeah.
And we hit it off, and I started working with him on everything, you know, that he was doing. And This I Promise You was I went in, and he had done the vocal, and he said, "Oh, this is for NSYNC," but he specifically said, "But it's not going to be a single." And I was like kind of bummed, and it sounded great. I thought it sounded like a hit to me, you know. Mm-hmm. But I thought, oh, it's not going to be a single, and it ended up being a number one single because whoever the powers that be wanted it. Right. But it was funny because Richard's vocal, Justin copped it like note for note. It was exactly like his vocal.
In electric guitar wise, did you use your main Strat?
Yeah, good old Performance.
This guy right here.
Yeah.
Can you just rehash what this is for people who maybe didn't watch the first video?
Yeah, it's 3 Fralin, I think they're called Hot Vintage, or but they're actual single coils. With a Kaufman booster, which is always on 0, but it adds some glisten-y kind of shimmer to it. Yeah. And yeah, and it went through a whole, in the 80s, I had 3 Seymour classic stacks and a Bartolini booster. And then I had a Floyd on it.
Yeah.
You can see it was de-Floyded. And then, yeah, because we were talking about it, then I got a Grosh guitar that basically had the same stuff, but it had a regular...
Yeah, like
and I got into that, and this lay fallow for a couple of years with the Floyd on it, because I'd gotten out of the Floyd and stuff. And then I had Greg Bach resurrect it, you know.
And do you remember what amp you might have used for this? I promise you, for like all the big clean stuff.
Probably the Car.
Yeah, the Rambler.
No, the
6V slant 6.
Yeah. And you know, somewhere along the line, like I said on the last video, it morphed into the Egnator IE4
with the modules and stuff like that.
Well, it was actually a 2-space that had 4. Yeah, they weren't modules, but and so I used that for a lot of stuff too. It was a great sounding preamp into a VHT, into I think I was doing like 2 412s or something like that.
Marshalls or just whatever?
Marshalls.
With V30s, you think?
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Love
I
it.
didn't need all that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, let's switch it up. Let's change guitars and let's hear it.
Great.
Secrets and lies. I'll be your strength. I'll give you hope. Keeping your faith when it's gone. The one you should call. We're standing here all alone. And I will take you in my
We will get right back to the interview with Michael Thompson. But before we do, I want to talk to you about one of our partners that we're collaborating with to bring you this episode with Michael Thompson. And it's our friends over at D'Addario and their brand new XPND pedal power battery supply. And I'm actually using it right now to power my Nano Cortex. And this has been a really cool thing for me because sometimes if I'm going to play a gig or I'm going to play a set and I only have limited space, I've often been taking this Nano Cortex. The problem is it's incredibly power hungry, and having to bring its own supply and all that stuff is a real drag. The really cool thing about the XPND pedal power battery supply is that it can run for almost 10 hours for most normal size pedal boards. And for even something super power hungry like this, even if I'm playing 2 sets, I usually still have 50% battery left. So it's pretty amazing. But if you were going to use it for an ordinary power supply for a pedal board, it can be good. Now, I talk a lot about in our videos about daisy chaining, and that is what this is doing. It would be daisy chaining. They do offer some ability to filter power by way of some of their isolator boxes, which you can buy separately from the battery supply. But if you're just using analog devices, overdrive pedals, boosts, low current stuff that's all analog, you're not going to have any problem daisy chaining anyway. So I highly recommend that you check it out. It's, again, a great tool if you're using something like I am, a Nano Cortex, a small, like full rig, multi-effects in a box, and you just want to have that, be able to play it, not have to plug into the wall or worry about chords. Literally, all I bring is a guitar, a cable for the input and output, and I bring this, and that's it, and I can get through 2 sets at a gig and still have plenty of power to spare. So thanks for listening to that. Again, a great product from our friends over at D'Addario. We'll have various dealers linked in the description if you want to check it out. Now back to the interview with Michael. Man,
One little edit.
Such an incredible clean tone. Oh my God.
Oh, that's a great song. It helps when you're playing on good songs.
Yeah.
You know, the parts seem to come easier.
Yeah. Did
Okay.
Richard have any input, like, as far as, like, what he wanted you to do, or just like, here it is, do your thing?
He liked the way I played in general.
Okay.
Probably because it's the way I played on David Foster records, you know. You know, there was a thing like David let him hang out in the 80s at the sessions, and he was just, you know, a new guy in town, kid.
Yeah.
And, you know, talented and everything, but he wasn't an artist yet, right? And there was like a joke that David said, Richard, you're not an artist, you're a songwriter.
Yeah.
You know, concentrate on that, right? And then it's like he proved him wrong, right? And so, you know, years later, it was like, I was wrong, you know?
Yeah.
But Richard picked up the whole production style, and like I said, I mean, you know, a lot of people idolize David, but Richard was, you know, able to be kind of like a fly on the wall at a lot of those sessions and stuff, and so he had that whole production sense ingrained in his thing.
And a lot of people really trusted him too, like early on, like Lionel Richie, he would like basically kind of be an advisor. You know,
he's
Luther
Vandross.
That's right, because he did that Dance with My Father.
Yeah, he's a super talented guy, and we did a number of sessions here, and he's one of those singers, artists that I was there like when they did a vocal for the thing, like Bryan Adams was one and Steve Perry was one, where I was just like blown away that they do like a one take, you know, you get shivers kind of thing. And Richard's one of those guys too. I mean, because he was coming from being like a studio singer. Yeah. But, you know, we'd be working on a tune here and it would need a vocal to work to. Yeah. And then like, you know, we'd put my little, you know, 57 up in the room or something. And he would do the most killer vocal, you know, and it's like, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Michael, I want to move to, speaking of number ones, as you had alluded to earlier in our introduction, that Gloria Estefan was the first number one that you played on, Don't Want to Lose You. And, man, that would have been in the 80s, right? That was kind of
it was 88, I think.
So later part of the 80s. And she kind of was going off as a solo artist, had been Miami Sound Machine.
Yeah.
And
I think, was that her first thing she did?
I don't know if it was her first, but one of the earlier ones for sure, if it wasn't.
Right. At first, like, solo hit thing.
Yeah. And do you remember kind of going backwards how you got involved with that, how you got the call? You mentioned Umberto Echetti.
Yeah, and I found out years later that there was a whole bunch of guitars already on the track, and he got there. I don't know if they made him a co-producer or something, because there was this guy Clay that was in Miami Sound Machine that he was producing, probably with Emilio or something, but they came out here for Hum to mix it, and he got in there and put the tracks up, and he's very like, he has a really good ear for what things need or don't need, and probably heard like all these parts and like took them down and stripped it down. I mean, when you hear that record, it's very stripped down, so I came in, and all he wanted, which is all we ended up doing, I mean, I'm going to play in the verse because I think I wasn't saying like, hey man, we should put a guitar in the verse. He wanted a little U2 thing in the chorus.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's just the stupidest, simple little part.
That was his directive. I just want to look at U2 in the chorus.
Yeah, that was when everyone, including me, wanted to make something U2-ish, right? But yeah, and then the verse, doesn't even have guitar.
Yeah.
But it was effective, the little part I put on there, you know? And it was my first time working with him or meeting him. Someone recommended me. It was that thing of like getting your name around enough where we need someone right away. Mm-hmm. Oh, let's, try this guy. I heard he's good, kind of thing. And I happened to be by the phone.
Was this the guitar?
9 in the morning. Yeah.
This is the guitar?
Yeah, pretty much. And in '88, I think I only had one other guitar. That was that EMG, my rock guitar.
Okay.
It was like one or the other.
Got it. And rig-wise, what do you think you would have been using at this point?
You know what? On this, I think it was direct.
Yeah. Okay.
I had this because I hadn't had like an actual. Did I have? I might have had. I had the 2290. I did have like a little rack, but it was for clean stuff. I was going just direct.
So it would have been 2290, any modulation?
You know what? No, I thought about this. You know what I had was the ADA MP1.
Okay.
That's what I used on Animal Logic. And that was leading up to, which was good.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good preamp. But I believe for this thing, we just went direct, like no speakers.
With the 2290 or what? And what for the modulation? Did you use the 2290 mod section for that? And that was it? No chorus, no pitch?
No, I didn't. Like I was saying before, I didn't actually step on a chorus for many things at all.
Yeah. What about for compression? What do you think you would use for that?
Oh, God. Who knows? I think back then, what the heck? There were so many.
DBXs were common in the rack.
Yeah. Did I even have a DBX? I ended up getting one. But that never sounded like compressed enough, And when I listened to this...
You didn't push the over easy button there?
You'd see a bunch of dots, but it wouldn't have that like a pedal does, But when I hear the record for the Gloria thing, it's really getting like hit hard, like too hard, almost like the milk box.
Do you think you put something in front of it, maybe? You think
I don't know, but I might have had the milk box or something, because it's like too compressed or something.
Right.
But, I mean, it works and stuff. But
so you think it probably was a pedal compressor of some kind?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Simple little thing, but it was this, and it was direct. And
was she there?
No. The guy, I can't remember his last name, Clay. He was their keyboard player. He was there.
I'm sure we'll look him up and put him on the screen here.
But Humberto was, he was revered by those guys.
Yeah.
It's like, if he says it, it's... No, actually, my friend John DeFaria was in Miami Sound Machine, and he had played, he had put a bunch of parts on the thing, and I'm sure they were great and stuff, but Humberto just, doesn't need this, and the way he is, but, so yeah, that's how things go.
Yeah. Well, and now you're on a #1 hit, and it's a great guitar part.
Yeah. It was fun to jump into that world,
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to make and I know that the moment is here. I'll open my heart and show you inside. My love has no pride, I feel with you. I've got nothing to hide. So open your eyes and see who I am, and not who you want for me to be. I am only myself, myself.
We will get right back to the interview with Michael. But before we do, I want to talk to you about Mogami cables. Now, if you've watched any of our videos about pedal boards or pedal board best practices, you've invariably heard me talk about various part numbers of Mogami, whether it's 2524 instrument cable, or whether it's 2319 patch cable, or 2314 patch cable. It is by far the gold standard in our industry, and I use it almost every single day, whether I'm using a small Mogami gold patch cable like this that's just getting me from my guitar into my DAW, or I've got all my interconnections on my pedal board. There's always some Mogami in play no matter what I'm doing. And Mogami is offering listeners of this interview a very special and generous offer. They're going to be giving away 5 of their Mogami Gold instrument leads, 10 foot with Neutrik plugs, to 5 lucky listeners. All you need to do is follow us, Vertex Effects, follow Mogami at Mogami Cable. Those will all be linked in the description on Instagram, and comment the word Mogami on any of the Michael Thompson content that we're going to be posting when this video releases. In 2 weeks after the video comes out, we will announce who those 5 winners are on social media. So please make sure that you're following us so we can verify that you are a winner. Thank you again for listening. Mogami is a great cable. Let's get back to that interview with Michael Thompson. Love it.
Yeah. Simple little part.
You put on your capo backwards according to the comments on the last video.
Yeah. Who knew? All these years. Now I got to go back and re-record all the stuff that I had the capo backwards.
All those number one hits.
Yeah. I didn't know there was a right and wrong way.
So if you want to have a number one hit, this is how you do your capo. You want to play on a number one hit?
No one ever told me how to do it.
David Foster never came in and said, "What are you doing?" So good.
Thank you for pushing the button every time we got to the verse.
Yeah, I could do my little part in participating.
He's running my effects today.
Your
I
tech,
can't get over there.
Working it off stage.
Yeah.
Well,
cool.
That's such a great song, Michael. And I want to move to another song that was a massive hit that you were involved with. And this is one song that coincidentally, we've interviewed many of the session players that have played on this. Nathan East on bass. We've interviewed Dean Parks. And now you on the song Change the World by Eric Clapton, which ironically, Eric Clapton really only sang and played the solo, but pretty much everything else was some combination of you, Dean, JR, Nathan, and maybe even Babyface in some cases.
Definitely Babyface.
And so I'm curious about I know you told us a little bit about working with Babyface in the past episode. I'm wondering if you can kind of build on that with specific emphasis on Change the World and kind of why you were called in, how you got the call, what you brought to the table for that.
Yeah, I had been working with him for a little while. We had done the whole Waiting to Exhale thing. And I was like one of his guys at that point, and came in and heard the demo for Change the World. And I just right away loved the tune, thought it was a great song. It was a great demo that Gordon Kennedy and Tommy, I'm spacing on his last name, but the three guys that wrote it just had done a really good demo. And so we were kind of following that fairly closely. The Clapton version, as I remembered that, because I never heard that demo again, but something about the demo that they had seemed like it had some Beatle-y kind of things to it or something. But the Clapton version had more of a down, earthy kind of thing to it. But yeah, they just kept adding guys on. I mean, Dean played the basic part because Kenny hadn't learned it yet. And Kenny ended up definitely playing one of those acoustics, it might have doubled Dean or something. And then I came in the next day, and so Nathan had done his thing, and JR played drums on it, and so I had to, like every session, had to learn the tune and try and put my thing on there. And there's really just a couple of spots that it pokes out, but
And at this point, had you moved to the Grosh, or do you think it was still this guitar?
It was still this guitar, for sure.
And were you on cars yet as far as the amplifiers were concerned? Or do you think that was Egnator? Or
Yeah. And I think I had, I had both. I had the choice between them.
Do you suspect which one you might have used?
Yeah. It might have been still the car.
Yeah.
Because that was my go-to.
Yeah.
Thing, but it was one of those things where, and Eric hadn't played on it yet, and then when I heard what he did that cool that little line thing.
Yeah. So Michael, I'd love it if we could go into it and have you recreate that part and some of that beautiful clean tone in those pads.
Yeah, I think it's possible.
If I can reach the stars, pour one down for you, shining on my heart, so you could see the truth.
Love it.
Yeah.
And the F sharp, man, when you go to that chord.
Yeah, that was...
You think you would
probably
use...
had a lot more schmutz on it, a lot more H3000 stuff for that chord.
Would you use that boss vibrato, you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'd have, like, way more...
You'd probably be in that selection there, right?
Yeah, or, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Then I would back stuff off for the verse or whatever, but...
So for the guitar players out there, Wazacraft version of the Boss vibrato versus vintage version, what's the verdict from a longtime user?
Well, just the original one was had a little bit of, like, when it was on, but I would always have it on in the unlatched mode.
Right.
It had a very light hiss that wasn't horrible, but it was like, kind of thing that I would always have it before my volume pedal, which is always in some stage of being backed off of, so I never really noticed. But Dave Frieden pointed it out to me. It was a pretty noisy pedal, and I'm like, oh, it is? And then when I, saw it by itself up loud, it's like, oh, that does have it. And then I heard someone else mention that. So the Waza thing definitely got rid of that.
How about in terms of the tone? Pretty similar?
Yeah,
identical?
it's better, if anything,
Okay.
They give you like a second more modulated version. What is it? Like, was this the one that did that? No. I thought, oh yeah, there's standard, and then there's custom. It's just a more depth kind of version.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. Well, then, for everybody out there wondering, you can get the Waza.
That's trivia.
And
that's a real minutia.
Well, I want to get into the minutia of another song, which was really popular on the Space Jam soundtrack, which had a lot of really huge songs on it. And it was from Monica.
Oh.
And the song was For You, I Will.
Yes.
And was that a Diane Warren song?
Yeah.
It was a Diane Warren song.
Yeah, it was in that era where she was just like, every song that we did was just a great song. Really, really like smash sounding right out of the box.
And was David Foster involved with that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this one is kind of has a famous guitar sound in that it's using a envelope filter.
Right, which I have. It's amazing that this thing still works. The Mutron 3 from the 80s.
Is this the actual one that you used?
Yep. That I took out of the closet, and, at first I got no sound, and I had to mess with the gain thing, and all of a sudden it roared on, and then I had to fine-tune it, so hopefully I'll be able to conjure up that sound, but it kind of like goes through the whole tune. And so I had to have it.
What was that? Like, what was the choice to even go for an envelope? So it wasn't even common in pop music at all at that point.
Since it was Monica, David would say something like, "We got to make this sound more R&B."
Okay.
Right? And so that popped to my mind, and I think I had gotten that there was this place called Black Market Music that had a bunch of old stuff like that. And so I got one of those original ones, and it took a wacky, like 18 volt wall wart that, again, Dave Friedman, when he did a system for me, turned it into a 9 volt where it like goes on it back on itself to turn it 18 to the 9 was fine, and put a true bypass because it was one of those tone suck, you turn it off and it's like, so it's let's try to come out with the sound.
All right, let's try it.
Yeah. Okay.
Anytime your best ain't enough, I'll be the one to make it better. I'll be there to protect you, see you through. I'll be there and there is nothing I won't do. I will cross the ocean for you. I will go and bring you the moon. I will be your hero, your strength, anything you need. I will be the sun in your sky. I will light your way for all time. Promise you, for you I will. Yes. I will shield your heart from the rain. I won't let no harm come your way. Oh, these arms will be your shelter. No, these arms won't let you down. If there is a mountain to move, I will move that mountain for you. I'm here for you. I'm here forever. I will be your fortress, tall and strong. I'll keep you safe. I'll stand beside you all along.
So you remember the first time you ever heard yourself play that song?
Yes, because I had just done it like a month before or something
really?
like
It's pretty
that.
close.
And yeah, I was on Pico and driving along, and it came on, and it's like hearing your baby crying, like hearing your guitar playing. People used to say, "Man, I can always tell it's you," kind of thing. But even mixed back in the mix, like I was a lot of times, it was always that ear perking up, like, "Wow, that's me," kind of thing. But on this song, it was really cool, and it got to that that lick, and they had it goosed because David liked it,
Yeah.
So anyway, that was cool, and it stuck out.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure it is validating to have all that that music on there and hearing the.
I never got blasé about it. Put it that way.
And I mean, it ended up being huge because, again, being on the Space Jam soundtrack, those are the days that soundtracks mattered.
Yeah,
And that soundtrack sold a ton. Had a lot of great tunes on it, stuff from Seal and the now defunct R. Kelly, but nevertheless, looking at it from a song perspective, a good song nonetheless.
Yeah, great Diane Warren song.
Yeah. So I want to move to All for One now, which is another band that was produced by David Foster, and they had some, not this song, but some of the songs were Diane Warren tunes. This was actually originally a country song, right?
Country big hit.
Yeah.
That I was telling you before, I didn't actually hear. I wasn't listening to a lot of radio, especially country radio. So I had never heard it before. Mm-hmm. So I was coming in like any other session, like, oh, this is the song we're doing, not like, oh yeah, I've heard that a million times kind of thing. Then after that, I ended up hearing the original version and stuff, But yeah, it was a big hit. It's funny because like a few years after this hit, All for One, I Swear, the same country songwriters wrote a son of I Swear called I Cross My Heart. And I played on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was with these producers that had ended up with All for One as like one of their. It was probably more like 5 or 6 years after it, but I thought that was funny.
Did it come up at all that you had played on that song?
Oh yeah, they got me because I had played on that song. But it was like I Cross My Heart, I Swear. But great song.
And what was that session like?
I remember that was like in the valley at this place. David was sort of moving around. He was in between studios, home studios, and yeah, I think it was in the days of still having like a sax solo. I mean, there's that tiny sax solo on here, but I think I mentioned something about like, why don't we do a guitar solo? And we booked this guy Dave Boroff, great sax player, and yeah. But I remember David pushing up a track of the lead singer at the end, the way he does it. I swear, right? Yeah. And like one of the tracks he had, the guy like went totally off key into some, Neo-Arabian scale or something like that. Not on purpose, but like he said, check this out, but it ended up being a great. I remember another thing about 2 of the 4 guys in All for One had never been on an airplane before.
Really?
Yeah. They ended up being really big, like in the Philippines and stuff like that for years. Maybe they still are. But, yeah. 11 weeks it was number 1.
Wow.
So, did hear that one on the radio.
They have kind of like an interesting, like, backstory. I kind of remember that, like, after that album, and I think it won a Grammy for, like, best male vocal or best vocal group or something like that.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing that after that record, and then they had they had a placement on Space Jam, I think, as well, not for this song, but for another song that they did, and which I think was a Diane Warren song. And I'm trying to remember what the name of it was, but I remember that like David Foster was like, I think we got what we need from these guys, and like they weren't gonna put out a second album, and I think Diane Warren was gonna like offer to basically like pay to produce the album.
She was known to actually put her own money into promoting her songs.
Yeah.
She was a real go-getter. Like if the label wasn't putting enough behind it, she'd take, money of her own.
I'm talking about betting on herself though. I mean, she's Well, Michael, I'd love to hear you play a little bit of your part on I Swear, and we can get into another, again, great hit that was 11 weeks at number 1, you said?
Yeah.
Wow.
Guaranteed it's going to be mixed a lot louder on our version.
All right, here it is, Michael's mix.
I see the questions in your eyes. I know what's weighing on your mind. You can be sure I know my part, 'cause I stand beside you through the years. You'll only cry those happy tears. And though I make mistakes, I'll never break your heart. And I swear by the moon and the stars and the skies, I'll be there. I swear, like the shadow that's by your side, I'll be there. For better or worse, till death do us part. I'll love you with every beat of my heart, and I swear. I'll give you everything I can. I'll build your dreams with these two hands. We'll hang some memories on the walls. And when just the two of us are there, you won't have to ask if I still care. 'Cause as the time turns the page, my love won't age at all. And I swear by the moon and the stars and the skies, I'll be there. I swear, like the shadow that's by your side, I'll be there. For better or worse, till death do us part. I love you with every beat of my heart. I swear. I swear by the moon and the stars and the sky, I'll be there. I swear, like the shadow that's by your side, I'll be there. For better or worse, till death do us part. I love you with every single beat of my heart. I swear.
Love it.
I swear. I cross my heart.
Man, this clean tone is insane. We've talked a lot about the gear that you probably used during this time. Was this?
Yeah, I hate to be so boring.
Was this guitar though?
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of
it's one of those things where, like, you plug in and you have this sound and people go, yeah. Even though I remember, like, doing when Dan Huff and I were doing the Faith Hill thing, and he heard this sound. I brought this guitar, we were doing all those TV shows and stuff, and he said, man, I'd kill for that sound or something like that. But we were talking, he said, man, I use that same stupid sound, like, you know, on all those records, all those years. And, you know, I don't think it's a stupid sound, but it's like a sound that on pop music, it just fits.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, in recent years, you know, and I have all these guitars and all these different sounds and stuff, and I push myself to do other sounds, but I'll usually do a pass of, like, if I'm doing multiple guitars on an artist's thing, which I tend to do, I'll do acoustics. The order I do stuff in, I'll do acoustic, then I'll do a pass of the clean guitar that goes with the acoustic nice. And then I'll do, a lot of the time, you know, has some kind of power on the chorus.
Yeah.
And then like an ambient thing. So you sort of get a full range of stuff. It's not just this one sound, you know, when I'm in charge of the, you know, arrangement, which I end up being these days.
So for the sound that we're calling up today, like, I know that there's been some variation song to song, but what are kind of the key building blocks that you're using to recreate the clean tone?
Guitar, stratified, and all strats aren't equal. It's like finding that one that really gives you that thing. I mean, you can get them off the rack and they sound like that. Usually I've found you have to add, you know, I have the booster built into this, which added some nice presence, whether it's with the pickups or what you're using downstream of it. But it's basically, you know, good sounding strat, and then compression for sure. And it's like finding, there's so many compressors out. I'm always, you know, wanting to hear something if someone says it's good. This friend of mine just turned me on to this compadre, the Strymon thing, which, along with the Thorpe Fat General and the MXR Dynacomp, those three comps
On at the same time.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, with none, it's, then with the Dynacomp, it's, which I'm not really boosting it, but it grabs, it has the new one, little one has the short attack. Yeah. And then put the Thorpe on after it, which has this nice treble knob, which adds a nice presence to it. And then I put the compadre on in the studio mode, which just boosts and fattens the thing up. And then I have the aforementioned VB2, which I'll... And I have it in the unlatch mode, where just when you step down on it, it's like going like this, you know, which we love. Which I do that too, but and you can set the obviously set the depth. You know, and then I use this Chase Tone secret preamp, which I got, you know, years ago, just because I actually saw a thing that what was the Saturday Night Live guy?
Jared Sharp.
Way before that.
Way before him.
The guy that was the band leader. I always space on his name. Great rootsy kind of guy. Anyway, he was the band leader. But I saw this like rig rundown thing he did, and he was saying how he had always left it on, right? Okay. So I got one for the hell of it, and it is, you know, this is without it. This is with. You know, I think it's based on a, you know, EP3 thing, but it's adding a thing.
Okay.
Then I get the good old, you've probably never heard of this company, but Vertex makes this clean boost.
Right.
Which I'm running my volume pedal. I know it's gotten really popular.
Yeah.
But I was early on.
You were early on the ground
Tom
floor.
Bukovac, it's like turned the rest of the world onto it.
I feel like you might have even been before Tom Bukovac.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the idea of having a volume pedal that isn't sucking any tone is great, because for years I've used Ernie Balls and Boss and everything, and just got used to it and compensated for it, but it was taking a little signal away. So that's last in the add-on stuff. And of course it has a nice little extra of, I put a little bit of boost.
Okay.
And it's colorless, as you know. Yeah. I'm telling you about your own pedal. And then I go to a clean preamp, which I love this guy Kingsley's preamps. I have the one that's supposed to be like a deluxe.
Okay. And
then instead of rack stuff, I go through pedal delays and reverbs, which mostly...
you can show all these overhead so people could... Yeah. Because naming them all might take a while.
Yeah. Now I have the good old TC chorus on, too.
Beautiful. I knew all the guitar freaks were going to ask about this, so I had to make sure that we...
No, that's all it is. And then it's how you smack it or zing it or strum it or how close to the bridge and stuff. And a lot of it is that, too, you know?
Yeah, except you can't do a dotted eighth delay with just your fingers.
I had to, well,
when they say tone is in the fingers, how do you do a dotted eighth delay?
Yeah.
We will get right back to the interview with Michael Thompson, but before we do, I want to touch a little bit more on some of the gear that we just saw. Now, one piece that we sort of glossed over but didn't get into specific detail about was a really important device, which is basically recreating everything that Michael used to do with the Eventide H3000, the classic effect that was on every single one of those hit records that he played on. And it's from our friends over at Walrus Audio and their delay pedal called the Meraki, which not only is a wonderful delay, but offers modulation on both sides of the stereo image to recreate some of that sound that Michael used to do, where he would pitch up and down, the left and right, so many cents plus, so many cents minus, and it would give him almost a chorus-like feel, but it wasn't chorus, it was doing pitch modulation. And he has been relying on this pedal exclusively now for years, and it has been a major part of everything that he does. Now, Walrus has generously offered to actually give away a limited edition blackout version of this pedal so that you can recreate those very same sounds that you're hearing Michael get throughout this video. All you need to do to enter to win is follow Walrus on social media, on Instagram, and follow Vertex also on Instagram. All of our credentials will be listed in the description and on screen. All you need to do on any of the content that we post about Michael Thompson and this interview is comment Meraki, the name of the delay, Meraki. I think I got that right. And that's going to automatically enter you to win this delay. I won't delay this anymore, no pun intended, and we'll get right back to the interview with Michael. Good luck. Well, I want to move on to another great song that has some amazing clean pads, and it's with the great Phil Collins and the cover that he did of the song. I think it was on a movie soundtrack. It was True Colors.
Yeah, it was. Oh no, that was Groovy Kind of Love. No, it was just on a best of.
Just on a best of.
Yeah.
So he just did the cover of the Cyndi Lauper song True Colors.
Yep.
I might be mistaking You'll Be in My Heart, which was I think Tim Pierce played on that one.
Tim played on that, and I played on another Tarzan song with him, and I was really impressed on both sessions, because I only did the Tarzan thing and this True Colors, that he was there at both sessions, like really encouraging and putting in his 2 cents and stuff, and I thought that was really cool, because a lot of the time, a lot of these records, the artist wasn't there.
Right.
But the Babyface thing, I remember it was 10 a.m. and I come in and Phil's there, and he had his drums set up, and he had done, I think they had just done his drums.
Okay.
So I plugged in, and the first thing I noticed is that, you know, it was in G flat,
Yeah.
but it's all these big G, D, C chords, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing I did was tune my guitar down a half step.
Wow.
Which I have a guitar handily.
Yeah, we'll grab it in a second, but I wanted to say one thing, which is that you are basically in rarefied air here, because I think for Phil, he's really only used a handful of guitar players ever.
Yeah.
Daryl Sturmer, I think most famously, Dominic Miller on a few songs, Tim Pierce, and you.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of it as far as, like, if you look at every Phil Collins credit, there's not a lot of guitar players in that roster.
Yeah.
So
since Babyface produced it, I was like his guy at that point.
Yeah.
So, and then after that, I did a couple of shows, like those charity shows and stuff with Phil, and he was a joy.
Wow.
Just like one of the guys,
Yeah.
you know, because he was a band guy,
Yeah.
you know, and so.
Do you remember what you might have used on that session?
I think I just tuned this down a half step.
And use the slant 6V if that was a Babyface?
Yeah,
thing?
and the H3000 on the micro pitch shift, you know, we're not talking about that, but I mean, I've said it before. I use that on every single song I played on.
Yeah.
With
Clean order,
figuring out the delay. Yeah, I mean, I would mix it back or have it up, depending. But I had to do it on the mixer.
So you have like one of those rain mixers, and then you would just pull it down? Okay.
Yeah, it's all still right here, but it's dark.
Yeah.
So, cool.
All right, let's switch it out. What a beautiful song.
Yeah, it was great the first time, and it was great that time. I haven't played this with my daughter live when she was doing gigs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about your work with pop music and all of those great hits, but we haven't talked at all about your work in film and scoring guitar over film.
Yeah. And for not being a movie guy per se, I ended up doing a bunch of movies over the years, more of a specialist coming in, not the sitting there in a John Williams orchestra sight reading, obviously, right? But got to work with, kind of like, Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard and a bunch of different people, kind of more of a like coming in doing lead solos kind of thing and a bunch of other stuff. But this particular movie, What's Love Got to Do with It, it was special because, of course, I was a big Tina Turner fan, and I thought the movie was just great, know.
Angela Bassett as Tina Turner.
Yeah, and Stanley Clarke scored it, and I went over to his house, and we watched the whole movie with a temp score, which I don't know if people are aware, but most movies, as they're shooting them, they use some other person's music that isn't the composer's music to temp it, right? Mm-hmm. And they used Eric Clapton's...
Like Lethal Weapon or something like that?
No, this other movie called Rush.
Okay.
There was a smaller movie. It was like Jason Patrick and Jennifer Jason Leigh or something. But it was a really cool, like clean Strat over pads kind of thing. Yeah. I think David Sanborn did some cues too. Yeah. But the cues worked perfectly in this Tina Turner movie. Yeah. But that was in another movie, right? And this English director, this guy named Brian Gibson, that did a great job with the movie, but when it came to the music, he was, I'll never forget, sitting there with the two musical supervisors, Jeff Carson and Dan Carlin, famous guys, and Stanley and me and this director guy, And so the Clapton one was like, yeah. It's like the most evocative note going up to the ninth, right? Yeah. And we couldn't use that because that was really signature of the Clapton thing, right? Yeah. So in my own little way, I got to be a hero by going instead of...
Yeah.
That's how it did start. Now I'm so used to the other way.
Yeah.
But just going to the seventh first, then going...
Yeah.
They were like... Because they were like, the lawyers, or people get sued for stuff like that. Yeah. And so anyway, Stanley scored a whole nice thing around it, but that became the little theme. Since Ike was a guitar player, they wanted like the continuum of the theme. Background music was like guitar oriented stuff. So in the movie there was like 3 or 4 times where that little melody came up. But this was a really moving scene, where they had a fight and she went running across the street and so I was watching the picture and playing to it and stuff. So anyway. It was cool to be part of it.
Awesome. So we're going to get to hear a little bit of you playing to it. And what we'll do, I think, to kind of create maybe more of that sort of semblance for the audience is we'll play that section of the video to the degree that we can get it from YouTube or wherever. And then we'll kind of superimpose it with you kind of going through the part.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Yes.
All right, let's do it.
sir.
Well, Michael, it was a amazing journey to get to continue the conversation, get to hear all the hits, get to hear how you created them, the sounds. We got to add in some new pedals that we didn't get to use last time, including the Neutron. And man, it's just always a pleasure. Thank you so much for everything that you do, man. For music, everything that you do to change the face of pop. And, you know, you are, as I've always said, my favorite guitarist, one of the best studio musicians to ever live. And I'm just so happy that we get a chance to come back here and help showcase more of your artistry. And
well, thanks for doing it. We've been friends a long time. I was thinking, man, I met you when you're 26.
Yeah. So I'm going to be 40 on Monday.
Wow.
So
it's a long time. We're not going to talk about how old I am, but I still feel the same as I did when I was 40. Not quite 26.
Yeah, so it's 14 years ago, I guess.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to you and your success. And I love these videos, man. I've learned so much watching the other cats, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think that they learn from you, and I think it's a great little synergistic thing that's happening. I'm just so happy that we get an opportunity to put these out and that people get to see all the great things that you do.
I know. Yeah, because there's plenty of interviews with talking, and I had kind of like told my stories enough, you know? But the playing thing is different.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so immediate. It's like...
Yeah. And people
stop
connect
talking
with these
about
songs.
what you did, you know? Do it.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thanks for... I know it's not an easy thing to do. We have a daylight reference, and we started when it was
still light out,
and now it's dusk.
Yeah.
So we've done a whole day. You've put in a lot of work, and thank you so much again, Michael. Cool. And hopefully we get to do another one. In the future. There are certainly more songs still to talk about.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.